Hello everyone. Yesterday's and today's news were very much in the vein of things in the world are never, ever isolated. Excellent example of how things happening in one country directly affect things happening in another country and everyone else involved. Let me show you what I mean, but first I want to start with a little bit of a success by Ukrainian armed forces. So Ukrainian government states that it has hit a Russian air defense system in Crimea, while Russia is boosting forces near Bakhmut, again, another familiar name everyone has heard before. And this is something I actually asked my dad about when talking to him, because again he's a former military man, so he understands movement of armies and things like that. So apparently right now, to their own detriment, Russia is so ticked off by lack of progress in the east that they're pulling troops from everywhere else, including the south, in order to try and prove something in the east. That, of course, makes whatever they have sitting in the south an easy target, which works just fine for the Ukrainian armed forces. If you think about it, I mean, what would you do? If you saw your enemy's troops retreating, you'd do the same thing. And so that's what Ukrainians are doing. They're taking advantage of the weakness in the south and are continuing to go against Crimea, destroying Russian military infrastructure there. And I'm kind of wondering whether they're going to go back and resume their efforts to drive a wedge between Russian troops in the south and Russian troops in the east. We'll see. Now for the main topic. So you might wonder where the heck this comes in. This is from CNBC's about the West is attempting to split Russian society after airport is stormed by the mob. Sit tight, I will explain. So in the wake of accusations against Israel, lots of them, in my opinion, unfair, following a sadistic attack by Hamas during which babies were beheaded in their cribs and young people were slaughtered or kidnapped during a music festival, Russia, who is notoriously anti-Semitic, has issued support for Palestine. Russia has several regions that are devoutly Muslim, including the region of Dagestan. And so, in the city of Makhachkala in Dagestan, there's been protests that went completely out of control, primarily because police did absolutely nothing to stop them. First, an angry mob was out in the street. They had stormed one of the hotels there because there was a rumor they were Israeli refugees living at the hotel. Now, first of all, no Israeli refugee in his or her right mind would go to a solidly Muslim Dagestan. It wasn't a great place for them before, and it's particularly not a great place now. Second, in general, no reasonable Israeli refugee would go anywhere near Russia because we know how Russia is. And so, nevertheless, somebody spread the rumor that there were Israeli refugees in that hotel, and despite the assurances by the hotel owner that that was not true, the mob insisted on sending its representatives into the hotel to look for Jews, as they have said it. I didn't say it, they said it. They didn't find any, not surprisingly. But I am wondering what would have happened if they did not listen to the hotel owner and they continued storming, burning, pillaging that hotel. And if people had died who had nothing to do with Israel, who were not Jewish, who generally were just there on business or whatever. What would have been done by the world community in response to that? Possibly nothing. And then there was the storm of the airport following the unsuccessful raid on the hotel where they didn't find any Israeli refugees. The mob was not satisfied, and so they stormed the airport in their own city. Once again, because there was a rumor that an airplane arriving with the refugees from Israel was, there. So, these people stormed the airport and demanded to search the airplane. The captain of the airplane actually warned the passengers not to go outside of the airplane, specifically saying there was an angry mob outside. Allow me to demonstrate. As you can see, it's not just one or two people here and there. It's a crowd waving Palestinian flags, just barreling through, unstoppable. Once again, it turned out that there were no Israeli refugees on the airplane, even though the guy went so far as to stick his head into the engine to determine they weren't hiding there. But this is exactly the kind of thing that can happen and will continue to happen if hatred and misinformation are allowed to spread. None of the international organizations such as the UN, Amnesty International, or Red Cross had issued an apology and admitted their mistake after accusing Israel of shelling a hospital. They've done nothing. None of them have taken the responsibility for spreading possible misinformation or ambiguous messages that led eventually to such angry mobs all over the world. And now, Putin, the lion bastard that he is saying that that mob that I just showed you in Makhachkala, Dagestan, was organized by Ukrainian security forces. I encourage you to look at where Ukraine is at. I'm not going to show you. You look it up in case you think I made it up. So look up Kiev, Ukraine, distance to Makhachkala, Dagestan. And you tell me, how precisely did Ukrainian mob get there to the Makhachkala airport to storm it, to threaten the airplane, to threaten the passengers and everybody else there on the ground? You tell me precisely how they pulled that off. Because you know they didn't. It's a lie. It's another lie. And so far, there's been no word from anyone. Nothing from the UN, nothing from Amnesty, nothing. They don't feel in any way responsible for causing that particular event and other events like it by having a very ambiguous message about their attitude toward Israel.